everybody. Welcome to another news update from What a Hell of a Way to Die. If you're wondering where was your news update last week, well, look, we had some other stuff that we put out, but also my wife and I and our child got back from vacation. And of course, when you go outside of your bubble, what happens? You get COVID. And so COVID kind of ripped through us. Thankfully, it was not too bad. I thought it was a head cold, honestly. And really, my wife is the only one that was popping up positive. So that's how we kind of mark it as like, no, she got COVID. The rest of us were fine. It didn't come up on the test. But so if I'm sounding a little grainy in the lungs, still getting some COVID up out of me. But I wanted to let you guys know that's why what happened last week. But we're releasing a lot of more episodes. We had Nate is back. Last episode with Nate, our last dad chat, we talked very extensively about the Redwall series. So if you are presumably a male in your late 30s, early 40s, and possibly read a lot of Redwall when you were younger, go back and listen to that. We have a really good long conversation about Redwall. So I'm not going to talk too much about it today. I did finish Redwall with my daughter, and we're moving on to. She wants to move on to Martin the Warrior because I've been kind of describing some of the other books. Technically, the next one is Mossflower, which is a Martin book, but she wants to read Martin the Warrior. That's fine. I have no problem with it. She handled Redwall pretty well. She thought it was mostly funny how everybody died. But for those of you who do remember the book Martin the Warrior, there's a pretty harrowing death at the end of that starts Martin on his wanderings, basically. So I'm sure that we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. We have done some great stuff here. Released earlier this week also was an episode I did an interview with the guy who created the app Hots and Cots. It's a brand new app that has been developed by a former soldier who has been seen. We've done plenty of stories about all of the issues with mold and really crappy barracks and everything like that. So what this guy did is created an app where you could say, hey, here I am at JBLM. Here's pictures of where I'm staying. Here's pictures of the dining facility. Here's what the food looks like. Here's what the rooms look like. Some of it's good. Some of it's bad. The fucking Coast Guard has snow crab dinners, and the Marines have mold, for dinner and living quarters. So, but mold is technically a living thing, so you can't say that you're ever lonely with black mold, I suppose. So, that's a great interview. Go check that out. That's it was on the Patreon. It's free now. That's kind of how what we're doing with the interview episode now that Nate is back full time. Those interviews where I talk to somebody, I'm trying to do about 2 or 3 a month. Those go onto the Patreon first, and then go on to the free. But we still do have Patreon exclusive content that's going to go up. There's another MASH episode with myself and Carrie. And for the people who are $5 and up, we had to put it to a vote. We're going to be watching Battlefield Battlefield LA. I can't remember which one. Basically, Marines versus space aliens, which I'm always like one of my favorite movies. Like, unironically, is the movie Battleship. It's a stupid fucking movie, but it at least, like, it understands what it is and just kind of leans into it. I also love that all of the aliens, like, when they finally unmask one of the aliens, they all look like, 1990s Limp Bizkit fans, with the goatee and the, weirdly high cheekbones and really fucking stupid haircuts and everything. So somehow that's the aliens. If you want early access and if you want all that extra access, $5 a month gets you everything on the Patreon. So enough self-promotion there. Let's move on to the news. So I have it up here. Missouri rule change would allow senators to challenge each other to a duel. Look, I know I mostly talk about military stuff here. However, I'm a Missourian, and I can't help it with my state sometimes because my state can't help it. I understand that, like, my state cannot contain itself at times. And as I bang the drum constantly about this state, we used to be a purple state. We used to be, not quite red and not quite blue. We are super red now. Like, it has just gone fully, like, 2016, 16% to Trump. 2020 was like 20% to Trump. 2024, maybe we'll get another 4 points for Trump. I don't know. Probably not. I think maybe he's waning a little bit here, but that doesn't mean that our state senators and state representatives have become any more normal. I always suggest that you keep up with your local state senators and state representatives, because that's where like the most insane, ghoulish people reside. Like the guy Nick Schroer, we'll get to him. He's not a guy who will ever be like a senator because he's too fucking weird. But he's weird enough where 10,000 people in St. Charles will vote for him. But he's not weird. He's too weird for like the rest of the state to look in and be like, no, that guy's totally normal. Now, I would have, and you've got people like Josh Hawley, who Missourian, kind of. Sometimes he lives here. I'm not too sure, but like he's one of those guys that like was cut, specifically punched out the douchebag die of like, we're gonna create this, goofy looking evangelical motherfucker that can be normal enough but incredibly right wing to become a federal state senator rather than a state senator. So this rule will bring back dueling, and look, we have a long history in America of dueling, mostly because once upon a time, when you would have your dignity insulted or something along those lines, rather than say, oh, hey, life is kind of precious and we should, maybe not shoot the fuck out of each other over insult, they did that instead. It was so bad at one point that the Navy had to specifically go to officers and say, stop doing this. It is illegal to do this now. Now, it took a while for the Navy to like really work it out of their system, but pretty much before the Civil War, like we got rid of dueling for the most part before we got rid of slavery. So that's how dumb they knew at least dueling was. Took them a while to realize that black people were human beings, though. So let's not put too much on the intelligence of our forefathers here. But this man, Nick Schroer, wants to bring back dueling. Now, let's take a look. So Nick Schroer has also, he's a Republican. As you can imagine, like, can you imagine a Democrat doing this? I would love to see it. I would love to see a Democrat say, no, I should be able to shoot any Republican that I want. That would be pretty funny. I don't think it's going to happen. But a Republican saying that he wants to shoot anybody who wants it, that's fine too. That's no loss to me politically whatsoever. So and we're Missouri. We love to shoot each other. We love guns. We don't really have a lot of laws governing them. There's no conceal and carry license. You can do face-to-face transfers without an FFL. We fucking love guns, and we love shooting each other. We love getting in arguments over parking lots and killing the person and then going to jail for 20 years because somebody took your parking spot. Try to explain that one to your cellmate who's in there for running fentanyl, I guess. So Nick Schroer does not want, he doesn't want insult to go unpunished. Now, he also put in a while ago a Make St. Louis Safe Again legislation that didn't actually discuss anything about what is it about St. Louis that's unsafe? What can we do to make St. Louis safer? In that kind of way of maybe we need to meet the material needs of the people who live here. Maybe we need to take care of poverty and falling down houses and things like that. It's just one of those. It's basically more cops. Now, if you've been keeping up with St. Louis politics in other places, we also recently had our cops run into a gay bar right before New Year's Eve and arrest the people who lived there, who lived in the apartment above the bar, and then tell the owners, hey, you need to get this fixed up or we're going to condemn it and shut you down. The day after they ran into it. So, our city police are not exactly great. I will admit that. And I know, you're going to say, well, Francis, all cops are bad. St. Louis really kind of sets a lower bar in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways that I've talked about too. The St. Louis City Russian roulette motherfuckers also. I know I talked about the bar PM thing earlier. So, but let's talk about Nick here, because Nick wants to make St. Louis great again, but Nick does not actually live in St. Louis. So this is a map of St. Louis, and again, if if you don't give a shit about Missouri politics, I'm sorry, but I gotta. This is my outlet for this. But so this line, this crude little line here that I've drawn is the border of St. Louis City. St. Louis City and St. Louis County are two different entities. And if you look really close on the map, or if you go to your own Google Maps and zoom in, you're going to see that there's other names around here. There's like Lee May down here, Brentwood, University City is up here, Ladue, Clayton, and you further out you get, you're going to find more names. Those are all individual cities that are within St. Louis County, but not within St. Louis City. This goes back to a divide in the 1800s, where the city divorced itself from the county, saying we don't want to be a part of the greater county. We want to kind of do our own thing, and the repercussions of that still echo today, especially up in the northern cities that don't have a lot of money and really suffer from not having a more robust government organization that kind of runs and governs them. The police, like a lot of these places, have their own police forces. Some of them have group police forces. The North County has a whole its own North Side collective policing force. There's what we call the County Browns, the St. Louis County Police that kind of are jurisdictional over everything. But places like Ladue, places like Brentwood, those are places that have more money in them, so they can run their own governments and they can run their own police forces. Now, there are obviously agreements with the city. Nobody's expecting Brentwood to have its own water purification plant, but St. Louis City water goes out to all of these places. St. Louis City trash goes out to all these places. So there's there is cooperation, and there's always been kind of a hey, we need to get these back together. But the issue you run into is that the mayor of Ladue being a very wealthy neighborhood, doesn't want to get off of his little molehill and no longer be in charge, and the people of Ladue feel that being part of the city would, kind of drag them down. And maybe in some ways that's true, but is it dragging down or is it elevating other people? I don't know what would happen, and we're probably never going to know what's going to happen, at least not in our lifetimes anytime soon. But I bring all of this up because, as I said, Nick Shore doesn't live in St. Louis. And he lives up here in a place called St. Charles, which is all the way, my arrow pointing up here. It's all the way up here is St. Charles, right up there. So there's you got the Mississippi River coming down here, and then you got this other river that's kind of up there that does like this. That's the Missouri River. On the other side of the Missouri River, that's St. Charles. St. Charles came about, really kind of started booming in population in the 60s and 70s because they could no longer stop black people from buying houses. So all the white people were like, fuck it, we're out. So if you imagine, St. Charles is very conservative, is very white. That does not mean it is all white, but the further away from the city you go, the more conservative and the more white it gets, especially you get out to St. Peter's and places like that. Now, these places love to consider themselves part of St. Louis. They are not. They pay no taxes to St. Louis, but they do love to come and enjoy our free science center, our free zoo. We have our free art museum. Our Forest Park area is full of all kinds of free activities that these people don't pay any taxes for, but also they don't have to pay any money to get in. I personally have always been of the notion of just look, if you are not part of the city, if you don't live in the city, you should probably have to pay a entrance fee to get into the into the the zoo, the science center, places like that. Not everybody agrees with me. I also I enjoy collective punishment of people who shit talk the city. Now, granted, I shit talk the city constantly myself, but I live here and it's okay. You get to shit talk the place where you live, but nobody else gets to shit talk it. So Nick lives way up there. He lives very far away, and he lives in an area where this is kind of the norm, where they where they just come up with all the dumbest shit in the world. Not St. Charles, but St. Peter's, as I mentioned, which is a little bit further out here, about there, roughly. That's an area that had a store called Tactical Shit. And if you don't remember, I think back in 2017, they were selling Jewish stars, like the Holocaust Jewish stars that said gun owner on it. Yeah. So that's the kind of people you're dealing with out there. Now, if you're tactical shit, what they sell is a bunch of bullshit, cheap, the cheapo fucking garbage that you buy at the PX to like a tactical tomahawk. As if you're ever gonna fucking use it. And if you needed an actual axe, go buy a fucking axe or a hatchet. Don't buy a tactical tomahawk. That's ridiculous. But if you are an idiot and you have too much money and you think that the gun tubers really know what they're talking about, then it's the perfect kind of place for you. So I don't know. I don't duel each other, or do. Fuck it. I don't care. Like, I'm at a point now with Missouri politics where if they want to shoot each other, that's fine. Like, my little enclave in the city, in South City, my little neighborhood even my neighborhood that I'm in doesn't want to claim our little chunk of area. That's how kind of cut off and secluded we are in its own way, but it's very walkable. I'm always walking my dog around here. I've got a bodega. I've got a Euro place. I've got a liquor store. So I'm all within less than a mile walking distance. And if outside of a mile is the YMCA. So I'm good to go here. If the dudes in St. Charles want to shoot each other, I don't give a shit. Like I cannot care about this anymore. I cannot expend concern about what stupid people are going to keep doing. I've got my own stupid shit to deal with. I can't constantly be worrying about it. I will talk about it though. I will make fun of them, and I will bring this information to you because I need you to understand the world that I come from, which is really fucking stupid. These are also people that think Taylor Swift is a psyop. So, and in that regard, go Chiefs, I suppose. I'm not really a sports person. If I wanted to watch a bunch of grown men get brain injuries, I would just join the army again. I can actually participate, and the paychecks are a little bit worse, but more people get to play the game, I guess. So, I'm sad about the Lions though, mostly because I was looking forward to a Midwest Excellence Super Bowl, but that's fine. We can, if there's one thing all of us can agree on, it's fuck California. All right. So next piece that I wanted to talk about. This has been in the news. I don't normally talk about attacks like this, drone strikes and whatnot. We drone them, they drone us. We drone them a lot more than they ever drone us. It's a whole thing. But drone warfare has become I've been since Russia invaded Ukraine. Drone warfare has become fucking frightening, honestly. I am deeply glad that the only thing I had to worry about were IEDs. An IED is kind of a passive thing. They set it up and, okay, we know they drive by here all the time. When they drive by, we'll hit the button, we blow it up, or whatever trigger mechanism you have. Not great. I'm not saying that this is, they scared the shit out of you. And you see the aftermath. There's really nothing you can do about an IED. It just is going to hit you. And if it does, you're fucked. Or maybe you're not fucked, depending. We had all kinds of ways to defeat IEDs. Some of my favorite was the Rhino, which was you put basically this box that was hooked onto the front of the MRAP or the Humvee, extended about 9 to 10 feet outwards, and it had a heat source in it, a really, really big heat source. And what that would do is there were IEDs that were triggered by the heat of the engine block. So what it would do is it would detect the heat of the engine block, have maybe a quarter-second delay or something to wait for the engine block to move forward and for the soldiers to be in view, and then detonate. So what this would do is it would defeat that by blowing off maybe the front of the Humvee, but everybody inside is okay. Some other things that we had, there were, a lot of things were triggered by cell phones. So we had cell phone jammers that were just on the top of a Humvee. If you were ever in Iraq or Afghanistan and just a dude talking on your phone to somebody and then your phone went dead and you saw an American convoy go by, our bad. That was us. But you know what? It kept a lot of things from blowing up. So we had those. We had ones, and because cell phones were on a different frequency, we had other ones that would kill garage door openers, or the button that you get to unlock your car door. So we had a lot of things to defeat IEDs. There's really not a whole lot to defeat drones at the moment, and as modern warfare moves forward, a new weapon enters the battlefield, and then you find different ways to kind of get around that. One of them is, as we kind of call, the cope cage on top of tanks. Those do have some kind of they do have effect. Like the original cages were being seen on the Russian tanks, because the idea was that, this will defeat a javelin. It doesn't. The way a javelin works is you shoot it, and the rocket goes. The idea is that the rocket goes above the tank and then explodes downward, because the top is the weakest part of the tank. So, put a cage on top of it that's supposed to defeat the thing. It doesn't at all. You can't put a cage and defeat a fucking javelin missile. But these drones, you can. I remember on Bradley's, when I was overseas, they had RPG cages, where if an RPG was shot at it, it would hit the cage and explode, and it would not be a great time, but it also wouldn't be hitting the armor, it wouldn't be defeating the armor, it wouldn't be creating a pressure wave on the inside of the truck, things like that. So, those cages can be used for the kamikaze drones, but I've if you're like me and you watch way too many videos, like way too many combat videos from Ukraine, there's a lot of just like, hey, we flew a drone over and dropped a grenade and blew a guy's arm off. I don't suggest doing that, like watching all of those, but that is kind of what we're seeing. So this drone strike is very interesting. One, people say, why do we have soldiers in Jordan? ISIS is still a thing. A lot of this is anti-ISIS work that's being done in Jordan, in Syria, things like that. I'm not here to argue whether or not that should be happening. I'm just telling you why it is. But this article from Politico just kind of hit like 20 minutes before I started doing this recording. That the way that this drone got through, because we have things that will shoot drones down. The CRAM, the counter rocket artillery and mortar, which is a fantastic device. They put them on, they were originally on ships to shoot down incoming missiles. And what they do is they shoot, and they can, knock a rocket or a missile off course or blow it up. And it just shoots this big long thing of aluminum rounds that end up dissipating. Like they shoot, and then after a certain period of time, certain distance, they kind of break apart, so that you're not just like an Afghan farmer minding your own business, and then all of a sudden 10,000 rounds of ammunition from the military base 3 miles away hits around you. It's not that bad. So we have things that will shoot these drones down, as we should, but when our drones come through, you gotta turn that shit off, right? So it seems like these guys saw a drone and then just like kind of caught the tailwind of it and flew in behind this thing under the radar to strike the base. This has never been done, I don't think. Like, I've never heard of this happening before. This is somebody saw an opportunity, and again, all of these in the past, all of these things get shot down. You can watch videos of drones being blown up by CRAMs. Recently, in the last couple of months, people love to take videos of that shit. This is something completely new and different, and I don't know, and how you move beyond this, how you change the way that you do things. We're probably not going to find out. Obviously, they're not going to say like, oh, here's how we're defeating the enemy this time. They don't want to, operational security and all that. But there's going to have to be a change in how these things are worked, because like as soon as one person does it, everybody's going to do it. There's always going to be some kind of loitering munition out somewhere that's just waiting for one of our Predator drones that's coming in for a landing. Hey, catch the tailwind and come on in with it. I don't know how you defeat something like that. I've never claimed to be a artillery guy or an air defense guy. I don't know those worlds. But this is a cracking open a whole new box of holy shit that these guys managed it. It killed 3 people and wounded over 30. Like, that's how big of a fucking deal this is. Like, this isn't just like a small, like Ukraine dropping a grenade or dropping a little mortar, or, you know, just the little explosions that you see hitting on the side of a tank. This is something that was way bigger. Like, something that kills 3 people and wounds 34 people is a big explosion, and it's going to be a big fucking deal. And I'm not, you know, whatever response, every fucking ghoul senator and congressperson, you know, immediately, oh, we got to bomb Iran. Of course, that's no sitting Republican senator will ever be happy until we have like dropped a nuke on Tehran, I think. But there is definitely going to have to be some kind of response to this, and whatever that is, it's going to be another escalation. It's going to be fucking stupid. It's going to make things worse instead of better. All of those things, all of those arguments are 100% true. I am more interested in logistically what are we changing here? Because, like I said, this opens up a whole new box of holy shit when it comes to counter drone activity and how you stop something like this from happening. So this is pretty big, and like the attack itself is tragic. It's not great. Things are going to get worse before they ever get better, if they do. But this is such a change in how drone warfare is going to be done. Like, this is a huge change. This is something that is going to be big. And that's what interests me, I guess. You can go on Twitter and argue about whether or not people should be American soldiers should be in Jordan, whatever. What this really comes down to is how does this change? How do these things change now? Like, are the predators going to have to like check their six? Are they going to have to do loops or something so they can see if there's anybody following? Because like, it happens once, it's going to happen again, or at least they're going to try to have it happen again. You see a predator go up, you see one of them, an American drone go up, you're going to start taking, okay, how long does it take for that thing to come back? And how long can we keep something in the air to follow it back in? This is all reminiscent of defeating IEDs. The game changes and you have to change with it. So how this change is going to come about is going to be very interesting. It's tragic. I mean, all war is tragic. All of it shouldn't be happening. It sucks that foreign policy in America is, kill the brown people. And it always has been and probably always will be. But logistically and warfighterly, I suppose, this is going to be an interesting game changer. So that's all that I have for the news. Let's go on over to the media. All right, so what have I been watching? What have I been reading this week? A couple of things. Like I said, I finished up Redwall with my daughter. I have a new book that I'm going to be moving on to pretty soon. It's called How to Break Up with Your Phone. My wife read it, and she's giving it to me to read. A lot of it is because, hey, get the fuck off of your phone. And discussed a lot about the how there you have problems when you sit there and doom scroll, right? Like, you're missing out on a lot of other things. You could be doing any other thing other than sitting there and looking at your phone. Now, we all did just get over a little bit of COVID and sickness and everything, which, look, when you're sick, sometimes all your brain can do is doom scroll. So, but I'm getting to a point where, like, I enjoy Twitter. I do. I enjoy posting. I enjoy finding little things and posting it up there and sharing. It's fun. I tried to go back to Facebook. I can't stand Facebook. Just because like it keeps like serving me all these like, hey, do you want to be in this group? Do you want to be in that group? No, I want to see what my friends are posting. And like, I can't really see that. It gets lost in all this other shuffle. And the not necessarily too much better with the with Twitter and ads, but you see an ad after like 3 or 4 tweets, and then you've got plenty to go before you'll see another one. Facebook is just really irritating. And I am on Instagram. The podcast is on Instagram too. You can find the podcast at Hell of a Way to Die on Insta. I do post on there, and I do post to TikTok as well under Army Strang. I am there, but I am mostly on Twitter. But the thing is, though, is that Twitter will break your fucking brain if you're not careful. What do you... I guess it comes down to, what are you doing when you're online? Are you having fun? Are you talking to your friends? Are you getting mad? And if you're getting mad, are you getting mad in any way that like you can affect any like real change? Can you do anything else? Probably not. Posting isn't praxis. Sharing isn't necessarily caring. If you're upset about something, go do something about it. Go be the change you want to see, or whatever it is. And I try to do that. And when I am online and when I am on Twitter, I try to, hey, I'm opening up Twitter on my phone or on my desktop. I'll open it up. I'll look at it I try to like 3 minutes, scroll through. And as soon as like I'm just scrolling and not really reading or opening up an article or, enjoying something. And if I start to feel myself get mad, I turn it off. Nope, get away from it. Back out 10 minutes, 20 minutes or so. Come back to it a little bit later, and when I'm in a better frame of mind. So that's going to be something that I will be reading, and I'll talk to a little bit more about that next week once I get further into it. I'm not trying to preach to anybody. I'm not trying to tell anybody how they should be online. If it makes you happy, if it makes you feel good, whatever. But I am trying myself to not be constantly staring at my phone, especially like I have a kid, and if I could get my kid to never be on social media whatsoever, that would be such a godsend. And she has friends that are, she's 8, and some of her friends have phones. Like, and we homeschool, so thankfully she doesn't go and like learn about Skibbity Toilet or fucking Roblox or all that other stuff. She finds other things to get into. She finds other books, and she loves reading, which is great, which is why I'm reading Redwall to her, and we're moving on to the next one. But she doesn't get a whole lot of that influence of like, hey, here's all the garbage that's on YouTube and stuff like that. We don't like. She knows that there's things on YouTube that are for her, but for the most part, she doesn't know the vastness of YouTube. I will say though that she found me on Spotify. She found the podcast on Spotify. She was very impressed by me having a podcast on Spotify, because she loves Spotify. She loves music. She loves listening to her own like kids podcasts. She really likes Squirrel Girl Radio Hour, which is only 6 episodes, but she loves to, she'll put it on in the background while she's doing other stuff in the morning. So it's great. She's got her own stuff going on, but I try to keep her away from most of this brain breaking shit. And I'm, excising myself from it. I am posting more funny things. Here's this book. Here's a coffee mug that I picked up. I found the Stephen Beatsy's, the cross sections books. If you are my age, maybe a little bit younger, you know them. They're the giant books that are like yay big. And you open it up and it had all these like cross sections of like castles and submarines and tanks and shit like that. It was really great. I found one of those recently. I posted about it, and that's what I want to do on Twitter. I don't want to do the rage click thing, and that's what Twitter has become. Like to get the money, to get the engagement that people want on Twitter from getting the blue check, you got to rage bait, and it's becoming, that's, if those people want to rage bait, that's fine. I don't understand like why our people are getting sucked into that. Like, you know what they're doing. At least screenshot. Don't share their shit and make me have to read. I don't know. Let's talk about what we got. So this week, Masters of the Air started airing on Apple. I've only seen the first episode, but so far, so good. There's been a lot of talk about this guy, Austin Butler, about, I don't know, that he sucks. I honestly cannot tell most of the guys apart in this book, in this TV show, because they're all a bunch of dark-haired white boys wearing a whole bunch of bullshit. You see these got the jacket, the life vest, the weapon. He's got all this stuff on. So the only things you can see are faces, and like they're all just a bunch of like generic white guy faces, and they all sound very much the same. They're all doing that 1940s talk there, see? So it's I can't tell any of them apart, which is fine because most of them are going to be turned into chunky marinara inside of a ball turret anyway. But so far, so good. It looks great. It's got a lot of great set pieces in it. And I see it being, you know, a good addition to Band of Brothers and the Pacific. I still don't see it being better than the Pacific, but I could see it being better than Band of Brothers. And if you're yelling at me about, how dare I say that about Band of Brothers, I mean, read any history about like what they based that book on. It was one guy's bullshit. It's a good show, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of up its own ass a little bit. The Pacific was a lot more like, no, this shit sucks, and it sucks for everybody involved, and nobody's happy about it. And there's no like, oh, we did it, we're defeating the Nazis, and it just sucks all over. But it's got Rami Malek in it, who is fantastic as a Marine, as a fucking shithead Marine. I love him. I think I like it better because it's Marines, and Marines, as much shit as I give Marines, they definitely have an air about them of a more salt of the earth kind of troop. Now, some of you be like, oh, this is about the Air Force. Wrong. Army. This is Army. This is before they became the Air Force. So still our guys, technically, just in airplanes this time around. Great show, though. It's on Apple. If you don't have Apple, there's places to find it. I've been finding it that way. But if you like the other two, you'll probably like this one. So you should give it a whirl. All right, and the book that I'm reading, Storm of Steel, Ernst Jünger. Kind of a controversial book from some people. So this Storm of Steel is kind of the opposite of All Quiet on the Western Front. Both books written by German soldiers on the front of World War I. But while All Quiet on the Western Front follows an enlisted guy and the horrors and the politics and, oh my God, what does it all mean? And all my friends are dying and this sucks. Ernst Jünger fucking loves war, it seems. He's just like, this shit rules and I wish I could do more of it. But he does. I would suggest this book if you want to read something that is kind of an unflinching view of trench warfare, but doesn't bog itself down in emotion or politics or anything like that. Like, Ernst Jünger just seems to be happy to show up and do some more, not even necessarily do killing. Like he's not like it fucking killed some British people and I loved it. He's just like, oh, there's some British, we lobbed some grenades over there. They threw some grenades at us. War is very impersonal to him throughout this book, and and he's an officer. But officers meant something a little bit different in World War I and in the German military. And I say that this is controversial because Ernst Jünger does go on to become a Nazi a little bit later on, when the Nazis did their Nazi shit. At that time, he was too old to do combat fighting, though. This was written before he was a Nazi. And like I said, it's very divorced from politics and very divorced from how one feels about war. He doesn't really he's never sad that his friends die. And that's kind of fucked up. He just offhandedly mentions getting shot multiple times, or then we got blown up, or the house I was staying in got shelled to shit and 3 people got, liquefied. And that's kind of the way it goes in war. And he's just kind of hopping from, crater to crater, waiting for the thing to kill him, but not in a fatalistic kind of way. It's just in a that's the way it goes. So, I would suggest All Quiet on the Western Front as a much better book if you want to get emotions about war. But if you want to get a guy who's just here's how trench warfare worked, here's how gas attacks worked, and here's how these things changed over the years, the beginning of his time in World War I, and then, into 1916, 1917, 1918, those things change, and warfare changes, and artillery changes, and the weapons being used changes. And he kind of just, brings all of these things to the fore in a matter of fact way. So, like I said, I was hesitant to kind of talk about Storm of Steel because, like I said, I know it's controversial because he was a Nazi. Eventually, he was a Nazi. But it's a look that you don't get anywhere else into World War I. Like, you're never going to read another book that's like this. And I think that's good. I don't think any other book really would be good. I don't know, because it's already been done. Like, what else do we need to talk about here? Like, here's how trench warfare was done. I would love to read something like this from like the British or the French side, just to kind of get the same detached. Like, here's what our trench lines looked like. Here's how we did war. Here's what machine gun fire and all this shit kind of meant to us. I think that those things would be interesting as well. But don't yell at me, please. But as somebody who reads a lot of books about war and really likes to read the accounts of, the soldier on the ground and like how were these things, outside of like what we learned in, school and, the ways that media likes to portray things. Like All Quiet on the Western Front, the book and that movie that came out like a year or two ago, are very different in a lot of ways. And similar. They're both very emotional pieces, but you're not going to find, that time's gone. Like, that was 100 years ago, and war is never going to be like that again. It never was like that, and it never will be like that again. And this is one of the few books that you're going to be able to read that will give you that specific look into it. So read it if you want. Like I said, there's no politics to it. There's no anger to it. There's no sadness or happiness or sorrow outside of the normal, just like, hey, I was happy that, we got some fresh shower. I saw my buddies again, or I got to go home on leave for a little bit and then, back to the fore, back to the front of the war. One thing that is very interesting is I'm not all the way through the book yet, but Ernst Jünger just seems to get shelled a lot. Not really, like, it's a lot of we were getting shelled and then some snipers took pot shots at us and then we got shelled a bunch more. A lot of artillery, and I think that is really the big draw for this to me, is that artillery in World War I was absolutely insane. Like, it was just constant battering of artillery, constant explosions, just churning the earth into absolute mush and burying as many 18-year-old boys underneath that mush as you possibly could. And when you watch movies or you watch TV shows about World War I, it's a lot of running through trenches or running through withering machine gun fire or gas attacks. One of my favorite pieces of media about World War I is the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, which I feel like kind of missed really big in the 90s. Could have been a lot bigger. Steven Spielberg did those, and Sean Patrick Flannery plays Indiana Jones, 16-year-old Indiana Jones. Joins the Belgian army to go get his war on. He fights in the Somme, gets taken captured and things like that. So I really enjoyed that, but it doesn't. There's never like, oh, and here's when we got like just shot at for 2 hours straight with artillery, because that would be boring. That would be a boring TV show. But in the book, though, it's really kind of brought up as like, no, this is, you just kind of hung out and just like, it's going to happen or it's not. So Storm of Steel, check it out or don't. Like I said, read All Quiet on the Western Front first. And if you get what you want out of that, go with that. You don't really have to move on to this. But if you want to be more of a huge fucking nerd about war, Storm of Steel is a good one to pick up. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching and thank you for listening. A few other things that I wanted to discuss. As I said, we have our interview episodes come out on the Patreon before they come out onto the free feed. Now, if you want access to those early episodes, plus at least one episode and access to our Discord, any dollar amount to the Patreon will get you that. Now, at the $5 and up, you will get more stuff. You're going to get more episodes sent out to you. You're going to get you're going to be able to vote on things on the episodes of the Zoo Crew, myself and Joe Kasabian and Carrie. better known as Shocks on Twitter. All of us, we get together once a week. We do bonus stuff for Lions Led by Donkeys. We do bonus stuff for me. So Battle LA is going to be coming up pretty soon in February. And then once that drops, we're going to do another vote for the next month. I have also downloaded every episode of Deadliest Warrior, and I'm going to have kind of a rotating group of people to come on and discuss the episodes as we go through those. So if you remember Spike TV and remember Mansers and shit like that, this is that weird like aughts time when men really didn't know what the fuck they were doing because mostly because there was a war on and the men weren't going to the war, so they had to, I don't know, watch what happens if the IRA went against the Taliban. I don't know. It was a weird show, but it went for 3 seasons, and they had all these kind of fucked up experts on it. So look for those. Those are going to be all at the $5 and above, and then, of course, at $10 and above, you get a quarterly care package that gets sent out, stickers, patches, some things that are going to be before the store, some things that are not even going to be in the store. Some things are going to be very exclusive just to you. So keep an eye out for those things. It's patreon.com/whatahellofaWayToDie. The link is down in the show notes as well. We appreciate your patronage. It keeps us from having to do ads. I don't think I'd ever be able to do ads. We've been approached by advertisers. I've never really liked the way that all of that kind of shakes out. But you know what? It keeps the lights on for us. Nate and I both we work. This is a job. This is our job, and we appreciate. We want to give you more, and we hope that even if you can't financially support us, that you're kind of getting the word out, talking about us, telling other people, hey, you should listen to these guys. They're not complete jackasses. And we kind of flip-flop back and forth between military stuff and dad chat content. We're always kind of evolving and changing and doing different things here. So keep an eye out for all of those that are going to be coming out. Again, sign up for the Patreon, and you'll get all those. You'll get access to a lot of great stuff. So some other things I'm going to tell you right now for this week until the next one of these comes out, you will be able to take 20% off of your entire order in the store with the code podcast. Just plug in podcast. You will get 20% off of everything. A few things to highlight here. One, the Dick Gun Coffee Company, our answer to the weird dudes that were like, we need coffee, but for it to not be woke. I don't know how your coffee is woke. I don't understand it, but somehow somebody made it political. So this is our answer to that. The Dick Gun Coffee Company. Your gun is your coffee. Now so is your dick. That tagline is on the other side of those. Those are available in the store, limited quantities. Because I got the coffee mugs themselves, the blanks, for a really good deal. And I've been putting these on the outside. So grab one of those now, because once they're gone, they're gone. We're not going to have any more of them. I'm sure I'm not going to find another good deal that I did with these, but those are available. You can go pick those up. We have the Carlton Gustav penny farthing ops pins. So we've had these at patches, and we have these as stickers, but now we have them as pins as well. I'm giving them to you first, and I will not put them out on Twitter probably until maybe next week. I'm going to start, just getting some of it prepared to ship and everything. But feel free, order one for you and your friends and all of your friends. They will be $10 in the store, but $8 if you're using podcasts. Take that 20% off. So find all of that. Again, links will be down in the show notes. And finally, I've been making these Frog and Toad buttons. I have a button maker. I have Frog and Toad books. And so I've been making copies of some of the pictures and making buttons. I love Frog and Toad. When I was growing up, they were always, really fantastic, early reader stuff. And that really stuck with me. The author was, kind of some tragedy with the author. He was a closeted gay man and unfortunately passed due to complications of AIDS. But he really left a really great legacy. And like I said, I've always enjoyed these. So you'll get 2 random pins, buttons. You can see what I have here. 2 random ones for $5. I can make as many of these as I want. So this is kind of an unlimited amount. So get those in the store. But again, take that 20% off as well. And that is what I have for today. So thank you all for listening and watching. Like I said, we really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next week.